Another feature of Rest Assured that we might want to take advantage of is the schema validation. Now, implementing the schema validation can be a bit tricky if you aren't familiar with the process, so following along in this video should be helpful for you. I'll add in a couple of links to read if you want to read about JSON schema validation or XML schema definition, but let's start by just going through an example, and we'll go through adding XML in this video and then JSON in the next video. So if you remember when we added our build.gradle file, we specifically added in the JSON schema validator, and we explicitly need to add this if we want to do schema validator for JSON. Now the one for XML is actually included already in Rest Assured, so we don't need to add XML schema validation there, but I just wanted to mention that from the off. Now the first thing we need to do is generate an XML schema definition file. So to do that we need an XSD generator. Now if we first go back to our endpoint here, so this is our endpoint where we just call a single video game, and we're calling it with XML, and we've got a bit of XML here back, so we can use this now to generate our XSD. So if you also go to this website, again I'll add this into the resources, we can literally paste in our XML and we can have it generate the XSD file for us. So this is our XML schema definition file. So go ahead and copy this and save it into a new file somewhere, and then we're going to add that file into our project. So I've just saved all of this into a file, and then I've put that file in this folder, source main resources video game XSD. So this will be on the class path now, and it will be available to Rest Assured. So that's that just copied in there. So now let's go ahead and write the test that will make use of that XSD. So we'll call it public void test video game schema XML. So we're looking at XML first, and we're just going to use this endpoint again because we're just calling this single endpoint. So we'll just copy that code. I'll just tidy it up a bit. Oops. So given we're specifying our path parameter, we're calling that endpoint again, and now we're going to add in the then step. So I add in the dot here. We'll say then, and we're going to check that the body, and then we're going to check that it matches the XSD in the class path. Now in order to do that, we first need to add an import. We need to add this import at the top of our test. So this static import for matches XSD in class path. So make sure that you add that in there first, and then in here we can simply call that static import, and we can specify our file, the XSD file that we just created. So that's this XSD file here that we just created. That's the one that we're specifying there. Let's go ahead and run that test. So the test has passed and it's asserted that the response matches this XSD. So let's prove that it's working. So let's change something in the SSD. Let's change this string into, say, a date time, and then try and run this test again. We would expect this test to fail now because the schema no longer matches. And sure enough, it does fail, and it gives us an error message as to why it failed as well. Let me just change that back quickly before I forget. Wrong one, this one. One thing to mention before I go is I did change the test config to be application XML because we're using XML for this test. So you'd need to change that over to application XML at the start, else this test won't run because it was defaulting to JSON. Okay, so next time we are going to look at JSON, so I'll see you for the next lecture.